from Palm Beach, although once again, we have Tehran behind us with the hope and prayer that in a short while it'll be a free country and a free city in which women will be treated fairly and equally. All people will be treated fair and equally. All religions will be respected. And the long reign of dictators, which goes back now to the Shah, the second Shah, and the would-be Nepo baby Shah. So that, I mean, the Shah was put in there by the British, sort of, they sprinkled salt on him and made him royalty because he would be helpful in selling out his country and giving them all the oil basically for nothing. And then when Iran had a revolution and started this is back in the 50s, started a democracy, along with the connivance of our CIA, which, as you know, for a long time is not what we thought it was. The Shah's son was put back so that he could do the same thing. This also resulted in this family that didn't start off at all as a royal family becoming multi-billionaires. Most of it stolen from the mouth of their people, all of it actually stolen from the mouth of their people. And this guy wants to now come back and be in charge. And over the years, there's 47 years of dictatorship, and certainly in the 15 years in which I've been involved, the Nepo baby Shah hasn't done shit for his people. He's never been there at the events that where we were threatened with death, where we were almost killed. He never put his. He never went to negotiate with us to save the people of Iran and the dissidents of Iran. It's just basically to get back on the tit, right? With the stealing from his people again, who he didn't seem to care about for 44 of those 47 years. While he lived the life of a jet setter and a multi-million billionaire based on the money stolen by his old man and his mother, who were two of the biggest thieves in the history of Iran. Who's to say he isn't? Looks like he is. And plus, I'm rather annoyed that his people he seems to have like all the establishment people around him, every decision on Iran they've made wrong. In fact, almost every decision they've made wrong. These are the people who brought you weapons of mass destruction. These are the people that got rid of the democracy in Iran, made America a bad name. And then the Shah set up the secret police. The prison right now that's used to torture people was built by the Shah. I wouldn't be surprised if they used the same equipment because he did the same kind of torturing. And I just hope we don't go through all this just to deliver over the people of Iran to, if there is such a thing, a somewhat better dictator. But in any event, we do know that Iran has backed down from the execution. They were tomorrow going to execute Irfan Soltani, 26, who was arrested several days ago in Karaj. There are no real details about his having done anything extraordinary during the demonstration, other than chanting for the downfall of the Ayatollah. And he is he's charged and convicted without a trial and without a lawyer of somehow waging war against God. And for that, he was going to be hung tomorrow. President Trump said, if that happened, we would certainly intervene militarily. And then he got word that they're not going to do it. And now we find out from the minister, I can't remember if it was defense. Yeah, it was the Minister of Defense. He was on with Brett Baer Oh, they never were going to do this. That was just made up by the Israelis, um, and Brett kind of countered it with the fact, well, then exactly who called the president and told him they weren't going to do it? Was it Benjamin Netanyahu call them and tell them that they're not going to do it? I mean, they and actually basically said, you guys, every time you come on, just step in it. So whatever, at least it's been, well, when I say canceled, it's been delayed. Whether it's going to happen later, whether it's going to happen secretly, whether somebody else will be substituted for him. I mean, I think the whole purpose of given the fact that the crime was waging war against God, I think this was a deterrent murder. This is, let's put somebody up on a tree, and maybe that'll calm these people down. Right. Now, listening to the personal account in the New York Post written by one of the female protesters, I think a woman of only about 20 or so, they have no intention of stopping until the country is free or they're dead. That's what she says. And they're sure acting that way. And every indication we get from our friends at MEK is that's their attitude. And it's growing. This often happens. But remember, it took solidarity about 10 years to really be effective in Poland. And the level of despotism in Poland by the Soviets was terrible, but it wasn't all encompassing like this is. I mean, these people are complete monsters, like the Shah was, and so it's really extraordinary that they are striking out the way they are. Twice before, well, 3 times before, this could have happened. In my experience with them, it could have happened in 2014 if the president of the United States hadn't sided in with the reign of terror. He sided in with them so much he gave them hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, which someday should result in his going to prison, don't you think? What's the difference between the Ayatollah and bin Laden? None. They both support terrorism. They both killed Americans. They both killed Jews. They both killed anybody they had to. And they were terrorists. So if a president, whether it be Bush or Obama or Biden or Trump, handed money over at some time to bin Laden, did you have any problem in prosecuting that person for treason? I don't see why you would. He killed lots of Americans. Well, so did the Ayatollah. And exactly why would you be giving him money in cash if it wasn't going to terrorists and drug dealers? We don't give Israel money in cash, and we don't give England money in cash, and we use something called wire transfers. Shall we show them some of the, just in case they weren't watching the earlier show, some of the footage, particularly of that horrible just barrage where they killed any number of people in Tehran? About 6 minutes of 6 minutes of continuous, excessive fire, killing anybody in range.
Yes, so we will pull up some of this.
If we have that. Meanwhile, the people who were dying were yelling death to Khomeini, and not a single one was asking for a return of the guy they threw out 47 years ago, the Shah.
Right. So what we're about to show, this is some video of what we've been told is video of police shooting into.
اما رؤیاها
Well, that is just an example. Maybe that's more intense than usual, but this is going on intermittently in at least 80 different places in Tehran last evening, and altogether it's taken place in over 130. The death toll is very loosely estimated at 10,000. There are many people there who believe it's quite a bit higher than that, from the enormous number of bodies that they see. So the number varies, but it's certainly extensive. And what options does the president have? First of all, the airspace in Iran has been closed down all day today, except for the time when the president announced that they let him know that they're not going to do the execution. All day today, I might add, he sounded like he's getting ready, if not is ready, to take military action. It's unclear exactly what that is going to be. So let's go over the options, Ted. What could he do to save these people? One, they could take out the Ayatollah and his chief staff. That would be the experts believe, lead to the downfall of the regime. The demoralization of that and the fear that would create would just crash the entire regime. They could do massive attacks with the Israelis and take out all form of military power that they have. That means complete the job on all of the nuclear facilities, if in fact they have any. And of course, they'd be perfectly justified in doing that because they claim they are already replacing it, and we didn't get all of it in the first place. Now, this could be a Saddam Hussein all over again. Remember, there's an awful lot of criticism that goes around for weapons of mass destruction. And I believe there's a lot of criticism that's legitimate. But the reality is that he contributed to it by claiming that he did have weapons of mass destruction in order to frighten people. I tend to believe that Iran does not have much nuclear capacity left. But I think they're saying that to protect themselves. Well, we'll find out, because this is a perfect opportunity to get the rest of the job done. And that would so seriously deplete them that it probably would also lead to a downfall of the regime. There could also be attacks on critical infrastructure so that the country is really shut down and the Ayatollah is squeezed out. We could do even heavier sanctions, although we did apply yesterday or the day before another very heavy sanction, which is a 25% tariff on anybody who does business with them. Now, anybody left doing business with them would be a little crazy. I think that's done for the benefit of keeping Russia, China, and Turkey out, who would be more than willing to help them. A number of reporters, although in a helpful sense, this is mostly from papers that would be neutral to right wing, are very gently suggesting to the president, he's got a lot on the line here, that he doesn't want to be an Obama with a red line that was crossed 12 times. He did nothing about it and came out as a very weak president. The president has really gone pretty darn far in making it clear that if they continue to do murder of these protesters, he is going to intervene. Well, they're continuing to do murder of the protesters, and they haven't slowed down. The one concession that they made is to call off the execution. At the same time, they're murdering people here, there, and everywhere in Iran, and basically defying him completely. I do believe he's planning something. Whether it's going to be tonight or tomorrow night, I don't know, but it's going to happen. And of course, those who are maybe don't know him as well as I do are still in a little bit of doubt. And the reality is the Democrats are now on this side. The Democrats are now on the side of the reign of terror, and claiming that Trump is, I don't know what they're claiming he's doing. What could be wrong with trying to take a murdering dictator out? An insane murdering dictator should have been taken out a long time ago. Well, in the other part of the world, China, where we have to also, always keep our eye there, this would be a big blow to China, particularly when you combine it with the other things that we've done. China and Russia relied greatly on Iran and Venezuela for oil. Well, you ain't getting any from Venezuela, babes. You didn't even have the guts to contest us when we took the tanker with a Russian flag on it. Now, it wasn't really much of a deception, since it was under non-Russian ownership forever, and 2 days before you changed the flag. But in any event, you did that thinking you would deter the United States Coast Guard from taking it. It didn't deter them. They took it real fast. They took a second one too, and you didn't do anything about it because you knew you'd be embarrassed if you did. So I think it has come as somewhat of a shock to the regime that their big supporters, the big boys, China and Russia, aren't doing, as we say in Yiddish, bupkis for them.
Well, how is China, Mayor? How is China reacting to the recent music collaboration between the leaders of Japan and South Korea? Let's play some video.
Oh, they're in a panic. Anything about Japan will panic. How long have I told you that? How long have I told you that our secret weapon against China is Japan? The Chinese, it's 1,000 years of worrying about the Japanese. They defeat them all the time.
So this is it. We're going to put some volume. Sorry, I had the volume on.
He reminds me of the Prime Minister. I was really friendly with, who liked to imitate Elvis Presley.
I like her. I want to meet her.
Now, these two countries about a year ago hated each other. You know how important it is for us for these two countries to be allies? Japan potentially, with 3 or 4 years of what they're doing now, and a strong-willed leader like that woman, could potentially be one of the 5 greatest armies in the world. If it isn't one of the 10 greatest already, they could be for us there what Israel is for us in the Middle East. An ally worth having, not an ally you got to support and you got to prop up and the two of them together, if they both operated at full level, probably make up a better ally than NATO.
Right.
Except NATO is starting to listen to us, and we're listening to NATO.
Right.
You know, the president said he wanted 5%. That was his real goal of GDP invested in the military, because we only had about 3.5% invested.
Yeah.
Now, the original was 3%, and the budget the president submitted didn't get us up to 5%. The new budget will have us at the highest military spending since the Korean War. It'll be orders of magnitude greater than Russia, China, and will, by virtue of the vast amount of money that we're going to put into it, which he's taking from the tariffs that he's imposed.
Don't point that out.
Should assure our position as by far the greatest military power on earth, and in the history of the world. It might very well be that he's aiming to have America have more military power than just about the whole world combined. Now, that goes along with, because when you talk about Russia and China, they don't put it, even now with China making all the noise, they don't put anywhere near the amount that we put into it.
Right.
What they don't have, believe me, this is true. They don't have anywhere near our expertise. Every time they get tested, they F up. Every time we get tested under a Republican, we prevail. Every time we get tested under a communist leading Democrat, we fail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's on purpose, or you think about his missions have all been letter perfect. It's the same army. I mean, Biden basically conducted the worst military exercise in the history of America in Afghanistan.
Bagram.
And Jimmy Carter couldn't get a helicopter to fly.
Poor Jimmy Carter.
Poor Jimmy Carter. No, not poor Jimmy Carter. And this idea that Jimmy Carter was a great president after he left, Jimmy Carter was a goddamn communist sympathizer when he left. All he did is sympathize with Castro and the communists and against his country. Yeah, he's really kind to our enemies.
Media love Jimmy Carter.
And then he builds shit houses for people in America. But man, was that guy anti-American. Woo! I don't know what happened. He must have had a bad experience in the submarine.
Or the peanut farm.
What?
The peanut farm.
The peanut farm on the he was a submarine officer. Maybe a commander. I don't even remember.
That's right.
But he was a terrible president, of course. Terrible. Well, not anywhere near as bad as Biden or Obama, but he was a terrible president.
Well, Biden wasn't even there.
And but he was a terrible ex-president. He basically everything he did was anti-American after he left. Every single thing. So South Korea and Japan, this is very promising. Now, Greenland, the prime minister of Greenland, I think it was the prime minister. Yeah, Greenland's leader said that if his people were asked to choose here and now, they would opt to remain a Danish territory rather than join the U.S. aligning the Arctic Islands position tightly with that of Copenhagen ahead of meetings with the White House on Wednesday. We'll have to see how those meetings go.
Here's the leader of Greenland.
Jens Frederik Nielsen. Sounds to me like he's a Dane.
Skal alle forstå.
I don't think he's
Grønland vil ikke ejes af USA. Grønland vil ikke styres af USA. Grønland vil ikke være en del af USA. Vi vælger det Grønland, vi kender i dag, og som er en del af kongeriget Danmark. Nu står vi med en geopolitisk krise, og hvis vi skal vælge mellem USA og Danmark her og nu, så vælger vi Danmark. Vi vælger NATO. Vi vælger Kongeriget Danmark. Vi vælger EU.
Wait a second.
Tiden er ikke inde til interne diskussioner og splittelse.
Wait a second.
Tiden er til at stå sammen og få bygget videre på det fællesskab,
Denmark.
vi kender, og til det, vi ønsker.
Now, he's not Danish.
He is.
He's not an Inuit. Look, the majority of people in that island are not Danish. The majority of people on that island are natives. They're or whatever passes for natives, right? They're called Intuits. Intuits.
That is the premier of Greenland.
Yeah, who's
Sweden.
a Dane? He's a occupier. He's not a native.
By the way, does someone tell him? He says he chooses NATO over the U.S. Does he have any idea?
Who funds? I mean, basically, Zelensky made clear when the president said, "Well, you can have all of NATO, but we just can't be part of it." He said, "Well, I'd rather just have the United States."
But it's hard to take the guy seriously. I mean, I took him
serious. He's a colonial power.
So you have a Danish man.
This is the one time all of the establishment press and everything is pro-colonial.
Right.
Denmark is exercising colonial control over Greenland. I'm telling you, that guy is not a Greenlander. The guy is from Denmark.
A guy from Denmark is telling the world
Look at
that
him.
Greenland.
Look at him. Listen to him. I'm telling you, he's not a native of Greenland.
This is a Danish man telling us Greenland's going to stay with Denmark.
Yeah, I mean, even Iceland broke away from them.
Right.
I mean, as of a year ago, basically, they couldn't stand Denmark. Plus, how could Denmark ever defend them the way we can? And how could Denmark even stand in the way of this if they really are truly part of NATO? How are they going to be able to put there the enormously sophisticated next age defensive miracles that are going to be needed, so that we have two goalposts, one in the Atlantic, which would be Greenland, and the other in the Pacific, which is Alaska. Now you try coming over the circle. We'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO,
You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. We have with us a special guest, Professor Firuz Daneshgari, who is a doctor of medicine and a professor at Case Western Reserve Law School. But he's also formerly a political prisoner of the reign of terror, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and therefore has very, very special knowledge and insights and has written on this subject. And I can't think of anyone that we'd rather have right now at this critical moment than you, Doctor. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Mayor. It's the absolute honor and pleasure, because I have to tell you that you're one of my heroes.
Oh.
I have few heroes in life. You're one of my American heroes. And I'm not saying this just because it's now, as I think, is because I have learned over the past, decades of my life on this earth, when you identify the value, regardless of where they are, who they are, you grab them, because then they become your mentor. You are the symbol of courage, principles, and honesty for me. And I say this with the bottom of my heart, without any piggybacks. It's just you're absolutely a hero. In my opinion, it's an honor and pleasure to be here having this conversation with you.
Well, Doctor, you have a great deal of knowledge and have written on and have lived through this for a long, long time. And have I gotten myself too excited ahead of time? But I just have a feeling in my gut that somehow, some way, it's going to happen this time. And the great people of Iran are going to get a government they deserve, where they can be free and they can be productive. I think of the people like you, of whom I've known many, that have come from Iran to the United States, of the great success that you've had and the great contributions that you've made. And I think of that brain drain from the great country of Iran. And if that can be reestablished, we would have one heck of an ally there. And these people would be delivered from one of the worst tyrannies ever in the history of the world. So what has to be done? What has to be done to get us there? You would know better than I do.
Number one, as a surgeon scientist, your gut feelings are correct. Your gut senses are giving you the right signals, because as they say, the fundamentals of the market are basically showing toward that direction. And these are the fundamentals. Over 95, 6, 7%, 8% of the Iran population absolutely hates the existing government. And they hate it because over the past 47 years of existence government, they have done nothing but creating misery for Iranian people. And as you said, Iran is a very wealthy country, is a very rich heritage. And this, as you know, the numbers that we used to have, our GDP was 6 times more than China, 3 times more than South Korea, 4 times more than UAE. And because of this regime, now we have joined the club of some of the poorest nations on earth. That's number one. Number two is, as you know, over the past 47 years, over the past 60 years, frankly, there is a some of the smartest members of that society have gathered together and they say, we are going to take back our country from the dictators, whether they have a crown on their head or a turban on their head, because these people deserve more. And as you know, that is the organization that I fully support, MEK, Mujahideen Khalq, that they have dedicated their entire lives to bringing freedom to Iran. And these are not people somewhere in the clouds. I have 3 classmates from the medical school, Tehran University, we entered, that currently are in Camp Ashraf. And these 3 classmates and myself are leftovers from the class of 120, where half of us were either killed or disappeared by this regime. And these are some of the brightest people in that country. Again, going to medical school is not an easy task in Iran, with 7 universities at that point, 7 medical schools. Half of my classmates, Mayor, have been killed or dismissed. And again, I have a few of my classmates in Camp Ashraf. So some of the smartest layers of that nation have had the courage, have had the guts, and have the dedication to come and say, we are going to lead this nation. We are going to encourage this nation to fight for their freedom. And that is the second parameter of the market. The third parameter is that what you ask is what should happen. And as you know, again, you're a very informed person in terms of the international politics. Frankly, this regime has lived on the transfusion of blood. Because otherwise, if it was left to the capacity of the regime, should have fallen 40 years ago. The blood transfusion to him has been through its creation of the proxies, the terrorist proxies in the nation, creating fear among the Europeans and Americans, and frankly, appeasement policy of several of American administrations to give him money, load of cash, as President Trump says. These are the things that basically have kept this regime on the life support to today. But all those elements have vanished today. The people inside Iran, as you're seeing over the past 2 weeks, they've said enough is enough. Number one. Number two, the leadership of MEK and National Council of Resistance of Iran, with the unbelievable planning over the past decade, have created the resistance units that are leading the demonstrations and the population in Iran. So this expansion, massive expansion of the uprising is not by accident. It's not just a flick on the air. It's organized, is led, and is directed. And the third one now, thanks to who is in the White House today, now we have an international support, American support. I can't tell you how much the President Trump's voice of support, that help is on the way, encourages those courageous resistance units and youth on the streets of Iran. They say, yes, now this time the international voices are basically behind us, international support behind us. So I think, again, everything in life is a probability of what is the probability. This is the highest probability that I have witnessed in my life that this regime is going to go. So I agree with you.
So why the publicity, why all of the negative publicity from the establishment media and establishment sources against MEK? Doctor, I've worked with the MEK for 15 years, very, very closely, and have been in situations where we were almost killed together twice.
Yeah.
So that tends to make a very close relationship. And I know them intimately. They are an extraordinarily principled group of people. They are very, very capable. They go through these things in the past, having been a terrorist group or whatever, but they were a group trying to overthrow the Shah, who somehow a lot of people have forgotten. He may not be as bad as the Ayatollah, but that's like, going from Mussolini to Hitler, right? I mean, he killed people. He took away human rights. He built the prisons. He built the prisons that this regime is using.
Yeah.
The Savak was as bad a secret police as the Nazis had.
Yep.
So why? And the son of the Shah, who's never lifted a finger to help us in at least the 15 years I've been involved, has lived off the stolen money from his people. All of a sudden is pretending he's directing this.
I don't think he's pretending, as you said. That's the key word. So it's a very good question. And from again, I have I'm a living eyewitness over the past at least 45 years. From the time I entered, as you know, medical school in Tehran University, I was arrested. I was in that prison of Evin, severely tortured, and then because my family had been trained in the U.S., we came to U.S. But I've had a close contact over the past 45 years. But equally visible or not important, my family goes actually, my family roots are in Tabriz in Azerbaijan. So this revolution started, the thirst of Iranian people for getting freedom started literally 120 years ago. 1905, as you know, the constitutional revolution started from my town, from my hometown of Tabriz. Actually, the leader probably is one of our cousins, a distant cousin. I can't confirm it because I don't have access to that information. So the revolution started to bring representation of people's voice into the governance, right? Called the Constitutional Revolution, 1905. Again, my family, as from that Tabriz, they moved to Tehran and they established a parliament. And of course, now the people who are the groups who are taking advantage of Iran's resources means the Russians from the north and the British from the south, they see this as a threat that they're going to take away they're stealing the oil from south of Iran. So they bring the grandfather of Mr. Pahlavi as the new king, right?
And the guy he wasn't royalty. They made him
not at all. Not at all. He was the most notorious killing soldier of the Tsar's army, and they call him in Farsi, they call him the Reza gunman, because at that point the fire machines had been introduced to the army, and he was very good in basically killing people. And that is how he basically was promoted, because of the killing he did of the leaders of the Constitutional Revolution. So he was promoted to the defense minister of the previous monarchy. And then after the monarchy was so weak, he came and declared himself as the new king and created his own dynasty. And for 20 years, he did exactly what the mullahs do. Mullahs trying to force women to wear hijab, to veils. He wanted to force women to take away the hijab. Dictatorship, authoritarian for 20 years. In 1941, during the World War II, as you know, when the Russians and the Allied troops wanted to use Iran as a bridge to get support behind the Soviet troops to help the fighting with Nazi, they said, listen, your time is up, out. So they put him in exile. And then they brought his 22-year-old son. They said, now you're the king. The guy was in Europe, very much like this, Reza Pahlavi was in Europe going to school. Now you're the king. But you're our puppet king, basically. So during that time, as you know, again, uprising started, led to the government of Mr. Mossadegh, Prime Minister Mossadegh, who said the oil belongs to Iranian people. And it's that time, 1953, CIA made the first coup to take down Mossadegh and bring Shah back. So Shah became basically the puppet of the foreign governments running Iran, using, again, our natural resources toward that. The reason, and then it comes to 1979, as you know, Khomeini came to power with some dealing that he won't touch the Savak, he won't touch the army because he wanted to use them. The reason I'm going through this 120 years, because it has personal connection to me. In all these three steps, My family has been uprooted from their origin. Again, we are from Tabriz. Constitutional revolution is aftermath, uprooted from. We went to Kurdistan, the western part and the mountainy part. My family hid there, and that is where we got to know actually the Kurd people. And then after that, we moved to Tehran, where I was born. And of course, with the Ayatollah revolution, I was arrested and we moved to US. It has a personal impact on me. And the reason, again, I'm going through this is the Reza Pahlavi, his father and his grandfather, we have his 50 years history of basically their performance. We don't need to test this animal anymore, this whatever entity anymore. The elements of his basically his presence is dependency on basically foreign governments, being a puppet, and so forth. But one key point, Mayor Giuliani, that I think is not reflected in the media here is about 30% of Iran's population is formed by the ethnic groups, Baluchis, Kurdis, Lors, people who have a
People don't realize
Tabrizi.
this is very
Tabrizi.
important. People do not understand.
Very important. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm on the point out 30%. So, at the National Council of Resistance, we have policy differences with Mr. Pahlavi. But this ethnic group, including the Tabrizis who I'm from, they have about 70 years they have a 7 years history of his dad and his grandpa killing these people. In my family case, his father and his grandfather is responsible for uprooting us. That's why during the past few weeks, the Turkish and they're basically the people in Azerbaijan, they're saying this is their slogan on the gatherings. They say, we have honor, we want to be independent. Pahlavi is without honor, he wants to sell us. This is a slogan and I tell it in Turkish. They say, Turk ba sharafti, Pahlavi bi sharafti. And they're sloganing this in the stadiums and so forth. So there is a fundamental mismatch between the desire of at least 1/3 of the population with the history of this guy. And this guy is still actually in his discussions, he's keep calling the ethnic groups as separatists. And that is the biggest assault, political assault to people like me and the ethnic group, that we are not separatists. We want a unified. Again, another slogan I heard yesterday in Tabriz, they were saying the Turks and the Fars are the same because Iran is united against the mullahs. So going back to the answer of why the negative publicity, I think, to me, if you look at the 120 years, because in every change of the power, the other interests have come and say, if I influence this person and this group, I can continue to influence this country. MEK is the only independent organization over its entire life, 60 years, has not accepted a single dollar from anyone, has relied all of its internal resources. I'm telling you, I'm a doctor, I make good money here, and I give them a lot of money. So they rely entirely on the internal resources, the support of Iranian people. And I think that is a fundamental element, that the powers, they don't want an independent Iran. They don't want an independent group who basically would take care of its own people. And I think that is, as a person, that is the explanation I have. And of course, they go toward the money. As you know, Reza Pahlavi is spending a lot of money on the media. I've heard he's buying the social influencers
Yeah, I mean, they are conducting almost like a negative American political campaign against people who have supported the MEK. They put out a thing about how I was lying about my life ever being in jeopardy. So I had to put out the headlines that demonstrate it. Once in Albania and once in Paris, and the people have been convicted and put in jail. I'm not making it up. Why would I make it up?
I was in that Paris meeting with my entire family. 7 members of my family were there. It's like my kids are still say, "Hey, Dad, thank you. You take us to this meeting." We may have been blown
I had
up.
people tell me the same thing. But you know, I didn't see Reza Pahlavi there.
No, I didn't. And, yes, is the Mayor? Let me actually tell you another point, because again, you're one of truly, and again, I'm saying this with the bottle. You're one of heroes. You know, I'll tell you, I mean, part of being who you are is you have an original observations, right? And that's what makes you and all the leaders great. I'll give you a very simple observatory point. I have witnessed over the past 40 years, at least 3 generations, if not 4 generations, and you've met some of them. From the time that the MEK leaders came out of the jail in 1978, 79, right? There were less than 150 members of MEK. Within 18 months, there was a demonstration that I was in there in Tehran. 500,000 people were on the streets raising their hands to support MEK within about 16, 17 months. They were publishing the most popular newspaper in Tehran, over 500,000 printed publication underground. That group, my group, as I said, we were slaughtered. Half of us were killed, 120,000 kills. The second generation came, they escaped from Iran during the 80s and 90s. They went to Camp Ashraf. They came outside Iran. And now they're the one who are in a part of them, they're in Camp Ashraf. The rest of them are in 5 continents. As you know, our political machine is in 5 continents. Now, the third generation are the resistance units inside Iran who have not met Maryam Rajavi, who have not met Masoud Rajavi. What I'm telling you, what I think is that the power of this culture, this power of this idea, this vision, has transcended 4 generations, Mayor. And that is not an easy task. And if you ask me, Firuz, as a again, the biologist professor, you know, you're teaching, what are your I said, this is an amazing, unbelievable historical event. And the movement has basically transcended 4 generations in the physical absence and under the worst conditions that other people were killing them, bombing them. But they have been able to influence 4 generations of Iranians to the point that you see on the streets, right? The resistance units are sacrificing their lives because they want to bring simply the 10-point plan of Maryam Rajavi. That their hero is Maryam Rajavi, their hero is Masoud Rajavi. They haven't seen him, but the power of the ideas. And again, you know, we live in the U.S. It's like people keep asking why Trump had a landslide, you know, election. And I'm an apolitical person, frankly. I say, it's the power of the ideas, man. It's the power of the ideas grabs people.
Of course, and that's what it should be about.
It is, and again, yeah, it is 4 generations, Mayor. 4 generations during my lifetime, right, have come to MEK, say, wow, this is what I'm going to dedicate my life, dedicate my career, dedicate my family. And you've seen thousands of them. But the most demonstrable evidence for that is people are on the street now is sloganing basically we're freedom, we don't want Shah, we don't want mullahs, freedom, freedom, freedom.
I mean, this group in America has had support as distinct as John McCain, also Senator Torricelli, a Democrat.
Bipartisan, absolutely.
When you look at the members of Congress who have certified them as a legitimate organization and the organization that should handle the transition, it's about an equal number of Republicans and Democrats. And I have to tell you, toward the end, you know, the last 3 or 4 meetings, the only time I'd ever get to talk to Democrats is when I went to a meeting of MEK. But we don't talk to each other in America. We used to sit there and have dinner and kind of tease and say, "Gee, we should do this in America sometime."
Mayor, you should. I don't know if you've seen, but recently, about a month ago, I gathered actually in Paris with my Ms. Rajavi. Basically the specialists, the scholars. I can tell you, the nuclear physicists, physicians, surgeons, the specialists on the environment, how we are going to do protect the water. We had the gathering with Ms. Rajavi, and I'll tell you, she's one of the smartest women I've ever met. As you met, she was asking questions that would put an edge of my seat. How are you going to handle this? How are you going to handle that? It was amazing. The gathering of the scholars, the brain powers that is around this movement is unbelievable.
Well, now how do you practically overcome the IRGC in Tehran? I mean, if I were them, I don't want to give them advice. I would have dumped the Ayatollah and got a younger Ayatollah and put him there a while back so he could have a little experience. And plus, the present Ayatollah has a terrible reputation within Iran. A lot of these problems are problems they attribute directly to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the IRGC is going to try to hold on to this power, I would think, right?
Sure. So the simple answer to your question is the power of people and the firepower. And that is what the role of the resistant units are. Resistant units are very much like any other freedom movement across the globe and in our historical part, from the French movement, from American Revolution. There are a few who are dedicated to sacrifice their being to lead the population. The firepower really belongs to people. People are. I was listening to a piece of video today from a very attractive woman, young woman, who said she just left Iran 3-4 days ago. She was telling, and I may send it to you. You can, with the AI, you can probably listen to the translation. She said, when I came from inside Iran and outside, I think, people are worried here. Oh, how's this going to happen? I'll tell you, the amount of courage this resistance unit have, the determination people have on the streets. If the internet was open, you would have they're the one who are leading this. The level of the encouragement and the courage, this is the time we are going to do that, is through the roof. She said, hey, you guys are you sitting outside in Iran in the comfort of Washington and Ohio and so forth. You're worried. Those people inside Iran are not worried because they know you're going to take him down this time. You're going to take him down.
I remember 2014 or so when Obama turned his back on them, and I remember 2018 when Trump encouraged them. And then I remember when that lady Amini was killed. You had demonstrations during that period. The ones in 2018 were extensive. And this time, when they had the first demonstration, what was it, 2 weeks ago in the bazaar in Tehran, I wasn't sure with the one demonstration. The next day, when I checked with MEK and who know what's going on there, and they told me there were demonstrations already in 20 or 30 towns. I said, this is going to take off. The minute you see it go beyond Tehran, and also it's not just one group in society. It's all different agreed taxi drivers, nurses, police, women.
Everyone, retirees,
women with their children, women taking their children out and holding signs down with the Shah, holding signs about Trump.
There was
they know they're going to be shot, but they just don't care.
You saw they changed one of the streets to Trump's name.
Yes, yeah.
So there was a woman who had put some blood on her face. She said, "I've been dead for 47 years. I have nothing else to lose because you are the most misogynic regime. You have killed all my rights. Now is the time. I'm not going back home. I'm not going back home." The simple answer, Mayor, to your question is the sheer power of the population who wants to get rid of a regime led by an organized resistance
Yes.
who knows what they're doing. They're the one who are going to take the IRGC. And this is what Mr. Pahlavi needs to realize. The fight is not on the media and the influencers and the American media. The fight is on the streets of Tehran and 220 cities. And the expansion of this resistance pockets inside Iran was not an accident, right? Is the
No, I watched it happen.
led and organized by resistance units who've been in training over the past 10, 12 years, and they have the roadmap. It's just a matter of tipping the tipping point that the people in various cities led by the resistance units by MEK basically overcome the IRGC. Because as you and I know, you're a man of history. There's no dictator, no power had been able to stand the power of the will of the power of the will of the people.
Yes.
That we want to take the control.
Yeah, I think it almost happened before, and the elements are there now. And I pray to God that it gets done quickly with as little loss of life as possible.
Right. And Mayor, you and I are privileged, frankly, to have met the MEK members in Ashraf. The reason these people are there, they see basically they have a North Pole, they have a compass. They see that basically people who have dedicated their lives, and those stories are there, and that is what is giving people the leading light. It's really the lighthouse. They have a lighthouse during this thunderstorm.
Well, Doctor, thank you, and thank you for your support of them and your incredibly articulate explanation for an American people that probably don't know most of this story, because a lot of it's been hidden on purpose.
Yeah.
So thank you. We'll be back to you.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure and honor here.
Pleasure for me and for my audience. Thank you. God bless you. This is the quality of people throughout these resistance units. Sure, the MEK is the key to it, but there are a whole group of these units that are organized together under the National Council of Resistance to the Iranian Dictator, NCRI. And it's enormously well organized. And I would watch them when they were being picked off by Soleimani, Soleimani was their designated assassin, just like he was for the American soldiers. And every one of these people at Ashraf has a letter signed by an American general of protection from the United States of America, because they assisted the United States of America during the Iraq War. So it's a shame that the level of propaganda is so great that it really people will just believe this stuff without bothering to do a little reading. I mean, this book by Struan Stevenson, who is a Scottish professor and a member of the right-wing party in Scotland, which is real small, and a true scholar. He has a more recent book also that's out that I haven't been able to get my hands on yet. But this is very recent. This is about 5 years ago. Dictatorship and Revolution, Iran, A Contemporary History by Struan Stevenson. And he has right on the very front, because of his fear, because he contrasts and shows the dictatorship of the Shah, the massive corruption of the Shah, his family, and their associates, and their brutality. And then he contrasts it with the regime, which of course was, believe it or not, worse. So people now go back and say, well, that wasn't so bad. Yes, it was. It was bad enough to fuel a revolution. And except they went from bad to worse. Well, now you want them to go from really bad back to bad. This makes no sense. You don't have a revolution and go back to monarchy. That's sure as heck not going to make much progress. It's not going to help the young people very much. You want a democracy, and that's what the MEK stands for. They have put themselves in a position where they have acting ministers to keep the government going for hopefully 6 months, at most 9, to get to an election, so that the people of Iran can decide what they want. And they have a constitution based on this 10-point plan. Everything you would expect. A couple of the key points would be freedom for women, freedom of religion, things that have been really snuffed out in Iran, but mostly the freedom to govern yourself, rule of law. They're anti-capital punishment because it was used so extent. I mean, 120,000 of them were executed. And that's just the MEK. The number is catastrophic if we just spread out across the entire population. So I do urge you to keep close watch on this. I also urge you, a lot of people, and a lot of good people, a lot of people who just haven't had the opportunity to see this close up the way I have. I mean, I might feel the same way they did if I hadn't had 15 years of experience with the MEK, and watch from within how they operate and been with them and in deciding matters of life and death. So you keep with us. We'll keep giving you the information. We'll bring on the people who talk about it, and we'll watch this as we watch what's unfolding in Minnesota and what's unfolding in Israel, which is still really up in the air, unfortunately. And a lot of that has to do with Iran. I mean, if you get Iran settled, you're going to get the Middle East settled quickly. And then, of course, we have Putin. And it's past time to really get tough with him. So we'll be back tomorrow. We'd like you to go over now to Lindell TV, where the very, very erudite and interesting Dr. Maria has an excellent show tonight. A great way to finish off. And we'll be back with you tomorrow at 7 on Lindell, at 8 on X. We'll put out some of our clips. Hopefully you'll get to see that. And if we have to, if something happens during the night or in the morning, I have a feeling this is going to happen quickly. So by quickly, I don't mean necessarily today, but within this span of time. They seem to happen on weekends all the time. I don't know why that is. But we'll be with you.
He's more
help you get through it and help you get the information that's kept from you, which unfortunately still happens. So pray for the people of Iran in particular this time, right? They need it the most right now. But so do the people of Venezuela. We hadn't had a chance to talk about that as much, and we should, and we will. And the people of Israel, of course, and the people of Ukraine, and our people, our great people who get a chance here, and our president gets a chance to do something that only is done by our great presidents, and that is to liberate. He's already done it in Venezuela and elsewhere, but doing it in Persia will completely electrify the Middle East, and it'll remove the major troublemaker, the regime of terror. Well, dear God, please guide us with the least amount of loss of life to freedom. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are